if someone passes you on the hills, good for them. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses on these hills. And please, because you are going to be so amped, because if it's anything like it's always been, there are so many people lining up these hills, you're going to feel teased into maybe pushing it because you want your, quote unquote effort level to match the spectator effort level, because they're going to be just like cheering you wildly like you're going up the Alps in the Tour de France. Stay in your lane, stay in your zone, and don't overdo it.
Here we go. Crushing Iron Podcast.
Episode 298. 298 as we enter our final countdown to episode 300. Podcast 300 again. Welcome to Crushing Iron Podcast. We've been coming to you twice a week for going on 3 years. Super excited for today's show. We'll be covering one of our favorite events on the North American calendar, and I think one of our favorite events, period. And actually the genesis of what kind of started you and I's friendship and partnership and coaching and friends as well. So always good to recap and talk a little bit about Ironman Wisconsin, which is what we'll do today. But if it's your first time joining us, first off, welcome. We appreciate you giving us a try. We cover all things triathlon, the sport, training, everything involved in it, and then most importantly, how it intersects with your life and things that you can do to help hopefully continue to stay healthy and happy, and kind of have them intertwine and kind of mingle with each other in a happy and sustainable way. So I'm Robbie. I'm the coach and also athlete. Mike as well. And we have been doing this for, well, it's been a while. So it's been quite a long time, but we our goal for every show, whether we execute that or not, is to hopefully share our experiences and some of the things we've gone through, both as coaches and athletes, to hopefully provide you with the best information and experiences and sometimes data that you can do to apply to your own training and hopefully bypass some of the obstacles that both he and I have had, or just set you up for success for the rest of the season, the rest of your triathlon career.
That's a really good way to put it.
Thanks. I've been working on the intro.
Good. Little backstory. I was late 40s, and I was really getting out of shape, and that's when I connected with Coach Robbie. And after I got in a little bit of running shape, I decided to do Ironman Wisconsin, and he was my coach. And that's where it all started, and Ironman Wisconsin was my first. I will be heading back there for my third trip to do the race. I've been there every year since to spectate or whatever, but this will be my third shot at it, man. And I love the course.
Yeah, was it 7 years ago? Is that word?
Yeah, 7 years ago. This is my seventh Ironman in a row, late into midway into my 50s.
Yeah, so I started coaching Mike a little over 7 years ago. But in just a quick funny story about it's probably not nearly as funny as I'm going to let on, but
it's already making me laugh.
Yeah, I know, but it's always about under promise, over deliver. But at the time, I was coaching Mike and a couple other guys that were out there racing, and Allie and I were kind of sneak attack deciding on spectating, but we didn't tell the guys, because I had a couple other athletes qualify for 70.3 World Championships that year. And that year they were in Vegas, and it was the exact same weekend as Ironman Wisconsin. And so I had kind of told the guys, and Mike especially, I was like, hey, man, not going to make it. I appreciate, I got to go to this event. It's a big deal. It's the World Championships. I think I even sent like a very sneaky, like edited photo that one of my other athletes had sent me from on site in Vegas that I sent to him to kind of make it feel like I was really on the ground there.
Yeah, you did.
And then and we snuck in a town. We rode with some friends of ours up there to Madison, and we were all getting together to meet for dinner that night. And we got there really early and did a little surprise visit for them, which was a priceless. Your face was priceless that night.
Yeah, I was a little bit pissed off that you weren't coming up there. Because we were super tight all summer and like hanging around like all this. At the last minute before my first Ironman, I'm thinking, dude's not even going to come up. he's going to Vegas, and yeah, it was a great surprise. It really were. It was kind of cool to well, it's super cool to have you there, and it'll be super cool to have you there for about 30 other athletes that you're coaching for this one too.
So pumped, and as I've told a couple other athletes this week, I just love the city. It's got to, I don't know, it'll always be kind of a special place for me. I love it there. It was the first race I ever did after becoming a father too. Hayden was like 7 weeks old, I think, when I did it 3 years ago. And my mom and Allie came up there, and Hayden was there the whole day, strapped to Allie, and had those like when Michael Phelps was in the Olympics, his son or whatever made those like earphones famous or whatever, the ear muffling, like sound reducing headphones. So he was rocking those all day, but it was just a great day overall. And again, I love the city. I can't say enough good things about it. It's surrounded by water, which is one of my favorite things. But anyway, today we'll dive in, and I sent out a massive email to the athletes that I coach and work with, covering all things Wisconsin and race prep, and we'll cover a few of those things today. And what we know about the city, having both raced it and spectated it before, we know it. We know it well. We know the city. We know the ins and outs of the days leading up to it, the course, and hopefully we'll do our best to provide you with as much information and set you for success on race day. And again, if you're going to be there, we would love to meet you. We are doing a podcast 300, which will be, I guess, not technically a live podcast, as in being streamed live, but it will be recorded live in front of a live studio audience. That'll be Friday at 10 o'clock at the Best Western Inn on the Park, kind of the premier hotel right there. Second floor, we have an event group as well. It would be awesome if you are planning on attending to search that event and click on it, so we have a kind of a decent idea of how many people are going to show up. That way we can set up chairs. But that's in our Facebook closed group, which again, if you're not a part of it and you want to be, you can search Crushing Iron Group on Facebook. We'll let you in, and you can find that on the calendar. But we'd love to meet you, and even if you can't make it to that, we'll be all around town. You'll see us in our C26 Crushing Iron gear Friday, Saturday, and then we'll be out on the course. We have a ton of athletes racing, but then we also have a load of athletes coming in just to spectate. And we'll be there, and we'll be cheering for you all. So again, we appreciate you listening, and we do what we can for our listeners.
Yeah, and for those of you asking, I will have a very limited amount of visors there and some other gear
Should
available.
We auction? If we have limited quantity, we should do like a little auction.
Yeah.
30, 35, 45.
You want to auction visors? I'd like that.
Yeah, I think we can maybe do that. I'm not going to do my Micro Machine voice. But no, Ironman Wisconsin, we are 10 days out-ish. I would say that I wouldn't encourage people to look at the forecast because I'm usually anti that, but it looks to be like it might be a little bit chilly.
A little bit chilly. Huh?
And I love it. I was texting you earlier. I was like, man, I think it's one of my favorite things about going there. Is like I love putting on a hoodie, and usually in Madison you can rock a hoodie and shorts and be like perfectly fine, and that's like my ideal temp. But it's going to be a beautiful weekend. I think even Chuck Nuth won't ruin the weekend with weather, which would be like the first time, and I hope I didn't speak that into existence by mentioning it. But where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the days leading up? Do you want to start with check-in? Do you want to start with swim? What do you want to start with?
Well, I think we ought to at least cover a little bit of the check-in situation real quick, just because it's a little bit unique up there with the transition setup and whatnot.
It is.
I have a video that I'll probably try and link in here that actually explains it.
Good call. And it's a great video. But yeah, so again, check-in starts on Thursday, which is one of my favorites. There is no Saturday check-in, no checking in Saturday, which I also love. But listen, if you're going to be in town early, there is no time better to check in than between like 9 and 10 a.m. on Thursday. You will get in and out and be gone. Obviously, if it's your first time, you're going to want to check things out. But it's down at Monona Terrace. They'll have a lot of stuff going on outside. At least they did the last time I was there in front of the expo. A lot of stuff was outside and inside, which I kind of thought was unique. And then at the bottom of the convention center is some check-in in areas. But the transition that you will see as you kind of walk over Monona Terrace is whereas on the top floor of the parking garage transition is.
Yeah, top floor.
Yeah, you'll see. You kind of it's a really actually a great place to spectate because I think the walkway over top, you can see the transition on your left and your right, and it looks enormous. But it's a great viewing area. But check in again. I always recommend getting in, getting out. There will be a lot of things to do, so if you can get in early on Thursday, do that, and kind of familiarize yourself with the inside of that convention center. It's the convention center, right there at Monona Terrace, like the meeting rooms. Yeah, and because I think it's one of the more unique transition areas because usually like we'll use Ironman Louisville as an example, but you're usually like rolling in some like grassed up, wet, damp, muddy transition area with stuff flying everywhere. And at Wisconsin, you run into this like wallpapered banquet room with like comfy chairs and backs on it, and it's actually awesome. I mean, if you're looking for a transition area or an Ironman where they have a T1 or in a T2 where you feel totally comfortable, which I don't encourage, but taking your time to change into clothes and putting things that are dry on or a lot warmer on, this is the best place. I mean, you literally will run up and out of the swim, back into the kind of same places you were in the days before with the events going on, the athlete briefings, the convention center, the expo, and then also where you're going to have like dropping off your bags. There are a lot of rooms, and it might not seem confusing, but I would always walk it because there are a lot of banquet rooms, and it can become confusing on race day morning.
Sure, man. Yeah, just go in there and check that out, and you can probably actually walk the path that you'll take during the race and kind of figure out, because you kind of like run into this room and then you run out through some doors and then you kind of go through the hallway and then outside. So yeah, the transition is completely indoors, the bag part of it at least. So yeah, it's nice.
It's very
not
nice.
that tricky once you kind of look at it, but I do agree it's a good idea to walk through there. But anyway, we haven't seen how this swim is going to start, ever. Because last year they moved the start of the swim because of flooding down the row. So I was there and I saw it. But this year I assume they're going to move the start back to the original start area. And my thought is, since it's a rolling start, they're going to probably wind us out down away from the transition again to on the lawn. Because I don't think there's enough room if you go up the helix. That's just
there's no way. Yeah, I highly doubt that. I think they're going to kind of have it as so if you're pulling up the swim map now, it does. It has it has a blue line for your run out to transition. It has obviously the transition area marked. It has the green start line. And so I imagine what they're going to do is they're going to have people lined up along that blue line, which is labeled on the map if you're looking at your course maps on the Ironman Wisconsin website. I imagine that's where they're going to have people lined up to enter the water. But yeah, I'm interested to see because I mean, of all the events that could continue to be a mass start, I think this is the one because there is so much room out there to like line up, in between that very last corner buoy to when you're coming out to the green start line or whatever they're going to have there, which I'm pretty sure would probably be the ramp, the boat ramp, as long as it's still there. I imagine, again, if you're a person who gets really anxious about the start of the swim, I think this is about as least. There's going to be the least amount of anxiety you can possibly imagine for this one. I can't imagine under any circumstances it's not going to be wetsuit legal. The flow into the water is going to be pretty smooth, I would say, because they can let so many people in all at one time. Although I got to say, I'm interested to see, since there's technically a swim. You know what? I'm interested to see if they do this in water. I don't really have the answer to that, and I'd have to look a little bit further, but I would be interested to see, because if the map is correct in the green start line is in the water. So I have to ask if they're going to have like a timing mat you have to swim under to start, because the distance from where you would enter the water to the start line has got to be at least 7,500 yards. And so is that going to count as part of your time? So I mean, I don't have a lot of info in terms of how they're going to exactly start that, because it was definitely a lot different last year. I'll be checking that out. I'll be on site on Wednesday night, so Thursday, and then we'll be doing we'll be hosting an open water swim on Saturday, and by then I'll have an answer for you. And again, I'll probably post a link or an event to that if anybody else wants to come. And we'll figure that out, but it'll be interesting. Again, I can't imagine it being anything less than smooth. It's going to be very easy. But the thing is once you get in there, and I kind of mentioned this in my email, even though it's a straight shot out and then you make a turn and you come back, you will be absolutely stunned how many people swim off course. And I actually think the reason that most people swim off course or swim a much longer distance is because it is such a non-technical swim. So people just kind of get in their own little groove and they think, I don't really have to sight, I'm generally going in the right direction. And then they end up swimming 10, 15, sometimes 20 meters out to the right of these buoys because again, it's a straight shot out. You corner to the left, you corner back in to the left, and you make a straight shot back. And all you do is take lefts all the way back to the finish. But I also think that, again, that's one of the main reasons why people go off course is because they're not really engaged. They're kind of in their groove. They're swimming along. Most people breathe to the right, so they can look at shore. They can see people lining the pathway. So the only thing I would kind of say is, hey, get ready to be comfortable in your wetsuit. It might be a little cool in the morning, so get ready to kind of warm up nice and slow. On your way back in, at least the year that I did it and the year that I spectated, it was very sunny, and you be prepared on your way back on that long straightaway. If you breathe to the right, be prepared to kind of basically breathe looking into the sun. That doesn't bother me. It might bother some people, but just be aware. If for some people that might set off your navigational capabilities, staring in the sun, then putting your face back in the water. But I can't encourage you to sight enough. Look to the buoys and look to the farthest buoy because, again, I think another common mistake that athletes make is you assume that these buoys are in a straight line. And as much as they like to set them in a straight line, once they set them, they are now moving. They're not going to move, 20, 30, 50 feet, but they're going to move some. So I always, just kind of a tip, I always glance to the buoy in front of me, and then I always do my best before I exit to look and see if I can see the next buoy. Because if you're swimming, like I say, you're swimming on your way back in, and obviously you want to stay as close to the left as possible. Because and this goes for any kind of course where all you're going to be doing is taking lefts, you want to hug the buoy line. You want to, and a lot of people say, oh, don't swim against the buoy because you're going to engage with a lot of other people. Everyone else is going to be there. Well, listen, the closer you are to the buoy, the less swimming you're going to have to do. And I would rather swim less and have a little bit extra contact than be pushed out 5, 10, 15 meters to the right, and then I've got to work on swimming my way back in. And it's so think about it this way. If you're looking on the course map, think about, do I want to run on the inside loop of the track or the outside loop of the track? I want to run on the inside. So again, on the way back, make sure you're checking it. And if you can see, again, you'll be able to see buoys, but make sure you see a buoy. And if you see the one ahead of it, that's out the right or out to the left, make sure you're looking beyond that if you can, and staying, again, hugging those buoys as much as you can and keep them to your left, but keep them right on it. And make sure you're using those. And then on the way back in, obviously you'll corner those last two red buoys and then aim in diagonal. Once you corner that last red buoy coming on your left, I would not sight off those last, at least on the picture, it's got 3 buoys. I think that's correct. But once you make that final turn on the left, I would no longer sight off the buoys. I would now sight solely on the finishing arch. You should be able to really see very, very clearly the finishing arch. It'll be, I think, white or red, maybe even black, but you'll be able to see it. It'll be there race morning. It'll be the one that you walk under to start the swim. So get a good idea of it. And if you can get in the water before the race starts, I would not swim the start portion of the swim. I would swim the last portion. Make sure you're sighting on what you might want to see on the way back in, but I would sight on the way back in on the finishing arch because that is what you're going to have to run underneath and come out of the water to head up on the helix into transition 1.
Yeah, and I feel like for some reason that last stretch you can sight off the helix as well.
You can. Yep. Yep. But again, that's a taller structure. So again, as a point of reference, make sure And they a lot of times too, they'll have the arch out or something to kind of sight off of the day before if you're going to do a practice swim. So again, if you're going to get in the water the day before and do a practice swim or get in the water and warm up the race morning, don't practice swimming out. Okay, practice what you're going to sight off of on the way back in. Something that you can see, a landmark, where you are in proportion to the helix or the helix, or right or the left. You're a pro. When I say this in the emails, and we'll say it a lot over the course of the cast, but tell everyone what the helix is and what is this helix.
What is this helix?
Mm-hmm.
It's
is this helix you speak of?
This helix is I think they refer to the helix as this sort of spiraling, winding, like staircase without stairs kind of thing. And it's basically how people get into the parking ramp when they drive up. And it's a Frank Lloyd Wright design. And so when you get out of the water, you run up a little bit of a ramp, and then you sort of wind your way all the way back up to the top. So it's kind of a climb. It's really, there's so many people up there that you just don't even feel like it's a hill. They line that thing the whole way up and all the way through and around those curly cues. And I think that's what the helix part of it is that. And then on the other, they have two, and on the other side is the one you bike down. But I wanted to ask you, I'm looking at this map real quick before we move on. I do see that green thing out there, and that'd be weird. I've never seen anything where you start swimming under the timing mat. Have you seen that before?
Well, Dave, so in Ironman Maryland, which quick commercial break, I have promised an athlete that we will talk about Ironman Maryland. We got an email. I got an email earlier this week from I'll call her Krabby Kim. She called herself that, actually. And she was, well, I'll tell this quick story, but her intro to the email, because I guess people don't think we read these emails, but I can tell you we're not that popular. We don't get that many emails. And we do read them, we do respond to them, but I think the title was "I've Got Crabs." And it had like a little crab icon. It was like, hey, now I got you to read this. I'm thinking, oh, here I go. Some internet person's about to try and sell me on like search engine optimization and how they can. I'm like, no thanks. But I read it anyway. Great email, Kim from Illinois. We'll definitely talk about Wisconsin. But anyway, Maryland. It's a 2-loop swim, and I'm fairly certain you have to swim underneath a arch, and that's where the quote unquote in water timing mat is, because in Maryland, like Ironman Florida, you swim out and you come back on the beach, run through a mat and go back out. And I believe Ironman Maryland, if I'm not mistaken, you don't come out of the water, you just swim back underneath an in water arch. So that might be what this is. I hope it's huge, and I hope it's wide, because that's going to be a pretty narrow thing. But I'm wondering if, and this is 100% total speculation, to let me catch this, have somebody throwing this on like an Ironman Wisconsin Facebook page. But I'm wondering if they're going to have, how like on the rolling starts that are out of the water, they have like people holding up signs that say like, 15 minutes to 55 minutes, 55 minutes to an hour. I wonder if they're going to have people in like kayaks or holding those signs, if this is going to be an in-water kind of rolling start. I'm interested to see, but again, we'll have more info on Saturday, and hopefully we'll also have that info.
That would be kind of phenomenal, really.
I think it would be awesome. And, it's never too late to use that as an idea if you're not doing it already, Ryan Richards. Yeah, that's a tip. But so I think that's what they're going to – I would imagine it'll be some kind of mixture of those. But again, we will probably have final details on that, since I'll be there Wednesday night and Thursday on how they're actually going to do this swim. I will have that answer to you by the Friday live podcast.
One other quick question on I don't know how lakes work necessarily, but
you don't know how they work?
Yeah, well, like as far as ocean, they have waves that come in, and lakes sort of have the same thing. They have waves that come into the shoreline. So my thought yesterday, because I was in the open water practicing and stuff, and I realized that while sometimes there's lake current, stuff like that, it would seem like if there is a constant wave turnover moving to the shore, that might be an element that would push you towards the shore a little bit. Is that even worth thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, but you'll be able to know the morning of. Like, you'll be able to see out there, because there have been some mornings. I mean, I think even the day that I got the day I got there, the very first time I set foot on the terrace, I looked out on like that Thursday, and it was the old man sea was angry,
Yeah,
and
it
there
can
was
be
some.
wicked in the afternoon.
It can be wicked, but I think it's all based on wind. And so I think you'll be able to see, the day before or morning of, if there's going to be a lot of chop. If not, it should be just, as usual, it should be just crystal clear, flat pancake, not a ripple in the water. And if that's the case, then again, just to the best of your ability, stay as close as you can to the buoys.
Okay. All right. So then you get out of that.
You get out of the water, like you said, you run up the helix as you explained, and you're right. There are so many people there, you will not feel like the pain in your legs that you usually feel. It is such an awesome experience. The other reason, and quick tip, if you're doing the wetsuit strippers, go to the last one, and then don't take your cap and goggles off until you've already gotten your wetsuit stripped, because then if you got it in your hand, then you strip your wetsuit off, it's usually going to get caught up inside your wetsuit, and then you're going to run with your wetsuit, and then it's probably going to fall out, or you can't keep track of it. So you've gotten stripped, you run up the helix, you go into, and again, the easiest thing for you to do is to I can't remember where I was going with this. Is to run straight up the helix, but again, you don't want to run too fast. You're not trying to break any land speed records here, but as soon as you run into the boardrooms, the conference rooms where your bags are going to be, and again, you're going to drop these bags off the day before, or I think you can have access to them also the morning of. But they'll be in lines going up and down these rooms. They'll have a men's room and a women's room. Obviously, they're going to be separated. As soon as you walk in there, obviously you need to know exactly what line you're in, how far down the line you are. They're going to have little place cards showing you gear bags 2,000 through 2,200. In terms of the bib number, but yell your number out as soon as you possibly can, because there are a lot of volunteers in there, and they are in there to help you. And so especially if you're in there coming out of the swim fairly early, you want them to grab that bag for you, have it ready, grab it, go. Please, for the love of all things holy, especially if a volunteer hands you your bag, look at it. Do not assume that they made the correct grab. Because I've had many athletes before, and I've read it everywhere after every race. People will get the wrong bag. You don't want to sit down in your chair in the room and open up a bag and see a different colored set of cycling shoes and gear and think, oh crap, this isn't mine. And then by the time you go back, you don't know where yours is. So definitely double check. But again, once you grab it, run to your seat, sit down. I would recommend, since it's such a clean and kind of almost pristine place to do like a transition, I would always recommend in your T1 bag placing like a really small towel, like a gym towel that you got from like the Y or the hotel or whatever, placing that in the bag and just drying yourself off a little bit. Just a small towel. Don't take forever and a day to do it, but especially if you're changing, you're going to be soaking wet coming out of the swim, and it looks like as of right now, even if it warms up a little bit, it's going to be fairly cool in the morning. So if you could even just dry off your skin in just a little bit and not worry about freezing to death, that's always a good thing. So I would put one of those in your bag, a towel you don't mind losing or having ruined or never getting back. Get changed, and then again, as with all things, know where you're going. But again, just follow the person in front of you. Unless you're in first, you can pretty much just go with the flow. And then once you get changed, you'll run out through the rest of the hallway, back out through these double doors that'll be open for you. I think actually maybe even up a step. And then you'll come out on the top floor of this parking garage where all the bikes are going to be. And again, you'll know where your transition spot is because you have racked your bike the day before. You'll have visited it on the race morning. Again, same thing, especially if you're out of the water fairly early. Yell out your bib number. 300, 300, 300. And if someone hears that, a volunteer does, and they're available, they will grab your bike for you. Especially if you're on like the way far, like against the sides, where you have to run down your transition rack aisle to grab your bike. They will meet you in that alleyway and hand you your bike. Again, make sure it's your bike. But definitely isn't. And same thing with every other time you're ever going to find a special needs stop, a transition, anything. Yell at your number. You can't yell enough. Somebody at least will know to grab your stuff, and at least you kind of can cut some time and cut some stress off. But that is. That's technically transition one, and we can just hop on the bike train here in a second if you got anything else about transition.
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of people, they have portalets right outside of the T1 that you can use, I guess. I don't think you'd go inside, but whatever.
Yeah. I think that they'll probably encourage you to do the Porta Johns. The biggest thing I can tell you this is, and again, this is why I'm also a huge advocate of getting in the water early, is you will be coming down that helix. So you will be coming down a bike down a ramp and kind of being spit out the bottom of this parking garage. Please don't try to break any land speed records again. Be careful. And if you are someone who, and this is why, like, have your shoes on before you leave, because you see so many people trying to save some time by going down this ramp without their shoes on, and trying to do it that way. Please just get your shoes on, get clipped in, and go down and be careful. There will be wrecks on this ramp because people can't pay attention, and triathletes are traditionally subpar at bike handling. But pay attention to that. Get clipped in. Keep your head up. And if for some reason you're not all the way clipped in, then just don't mess with it until you get on the road. The first 5 miles of this course are not conducive to setting out your PR speed out of the gate. You got this fairly twisty ramp to come down, then you come spit out the front of the parking garage. You got a little bit of time on the road, and then I think after the road a little bit, you hop right back out onto a bike path.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that goes anymore, because last year they went down to a road. I don't know if the flood might have been the reasoning. I know that the bike path was underwater, so I don't know if they're going to continue to do the road thing or go on the bike path this year.
Well, hopefully they continue on the road. That would be awesome. I'm going to pull up the course up here in a minute, but let's see. Hop on it. I can't tell. It looks like though it's going to be mainly on the road. It says wide on Winger bike path under John Nolan Drive. So yeah, you'll be back on the bike path for a little bit. But again, it's not conducive. It's just
no pass zone, I think.
Yeah, and so get some fueling in you. Take your time. Settle in a groove, make sure everything's working, make sure your shifting's going good, make sure you're getting a good groove. Don't try to get an arrow and shove your head down and start slamming it, because it's not gonna happen. So great time to take in some extra fluids, and just kind of get ahead of yourself to hop back onto a fairly, at least the flattest part of the course, which is that first like 15 miles before you make that first turn to head out on the first loop of the lollipop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also I neglected to tell a buddy last year, who's a good cyclist, and he got done with the race last year, and he's like, thanks for telling me how bumpy the roads were. And I think that as you go out there, just kind of I guess now I'm a little paranoid about that, but I just want to kind of make sure everybody maybe, it's a good time to sort of get used to it, because, it is Wisconsin and stuff freezes up there in the winter and the roads aren't as smooth a lot of times as people expect them to be, just because of the freezing and thawing and stuff like that. So it might be a good time to sort of just gather your thoughts and get a good feel for how the terrain will feel. I'm sure there's probably nice and smooth sections because they probably have paved some things, but for the most part, just sort of be prepared for it a little bit mentally.
Yeah, it's, again, like, you're going to see, there's two things you're going to see happen. You're going to see people that are going to get flats, and most likely, sometimes pinch flats, or you're going to see athletes also that drop their chain. More oftentimes than not, this is 100% the athlete's fault for not paying attention. They will have sometimes even cones out on the course marking the roughest spots, but they also spray paint them. Now, don't anticipate them being totally perfect, because we all miss things. So, but you can expect them to, I think it's like orange or green, like neon spray paint that go out the day before and spray paint like the really, really gruesome areas. So they'll do that. But again, keep your head up. The other thing is, like, triathletes love to have their heads down. And so if you keep your head down, you're not looking up, you're going to be in one of those divots or potholes before you even know what's going on. And that's going to lead to a flat. It could mess up your rim, whatever. So just please be aware. Please keep your head up. Again, if you're even closer behind somebody than you want to be, make sure you know what's there. And again, on the roughest sections, if you're passing someone, please use your words. Say on your left, because the person in front of you might be about to come up on one of those potholes or divots, and they might be looking to swerve to the left, and they might do that and then you're both going to go down because neither one of you can use your words, neither one of you looked. And then the other one is people are going to be dropping their chains right. I mean, it's going to be like the Miami Hurricanes playing Florida. They're going to be dropping chains right and left. Yeah, I know you'd like that.
Yeah,
but again, gearing here on this course is, again, you're going to have to be engaged the entire time. There are no like really, really, really long miles and miles of hills. It's just short pinchers that are relentless with many turns, and you're not going to be bored. I can tell you that. You're going to be making decisions every single second. And a lot of times people drop their chain, it's because it's not their bike's fault. It's your fault. You need to gear ahead of what you see. So don't wait until you're smashing like 30 cadence and can barely push over to try to gear down. That's when you're going to drop your chain. Look on the road, know the feel of it, and gear down or gear up based on what you're about to need 10 or 15 feet in front of you, if not 10 to 15 meters in front of you. That one so that you don't drop a chain, because I can tell you right now, the last place you want to drop a chain is going up one of those pitchers.
Yep.
You're going to have to get over the side of the road, and you're going to have to fix your chain, then you're probably going to have to walk it up to the top, because starting from a dead stop to get up some of those little pinchers is not going to be anything I would recommend. So please be mindful, though. Again, there's not really super long hills there. There are plenty of turns. Like if you scroll down to the bottom of the course map and you go like the turn by turn directions, yeah, let's just say it's a lot. I mean, I think I kind of want to count them, but I would say there's probably at least like 80 to 80 turns you got to make just by looking at it.
Yeah.
Elevation gain,
I love it.
Yeah, and again, like some people might. So, I mean, if you're picking this course, you probably already assumed it's not going to be like a PR course based on the course you've done before. It's just a lot of turns. Just be mindful, pay attention, gear before you need to, take in fluids when you need to. And again, that's another part of this that I think a lot of people don't talk about or tend to forget, is that on a course like this where you're making decisions all the time, you're going left, you're going right, you're going up a hill, you're going down a hill, is people forget to hydrate because they're so worried about, taking their hands off the bars to get a drink and they might hit a pothole, all these things. I'm always a huge fan of taking in water on the uphill, like right before you get to the crest when you're going kind of slow and you're kind of going steady, you got good control, and then kind of recover and get your breath back on the downhill. But just pay attention, stay in your hydration plan, stay in your lane, use your words. It's going to be a long course, and again, if you're looking at the quote unquote course profile, you're going to look at it like, all right, let's see, I got mile 89, I got a big downhill, then I got an uphill. All right, got it. And then let's see, it gets about mile 90 to 100. Oh man, it's like downhill from there.
Yeah, right.
Like, not really. Anticipate a headwind. If you don't get one, you get a tailwind. Well, congrats, you're the first ever. But anticipate a headwind, and you will see so many people these last like 10 to 15 miles sitting up out of their air position, totally busted, totally defeated, and there is nothing worse. Nothing worse. I mean, there's nothing more debilitating and frustrating than a headwind, even when you're feeling good in aero, much less having to sit up with tired legs, having bonked, and now you got to ride those last 10 or 15 miles back in on, again, if you remember back to the first part of the course, it's not very fast. Okay, so you've got a lot of turns, you've got this bike path, so don't expect to like make up a lot of extra time in those last 10 or 15 miles. If you can even just maintain your speed, then kudos, right? But I would just say be mindful of that, and then make sure you've got the legs for the last little bit, because a great feeling to have is passing people those last 10 miles coming into T2 getting ready to run, not getting past.
Mm-hmm. I think back to your gearing talk there, because I was thinking, there's a lot of people obviously that ride that course a lot and know it really well, and that is definitely going to be an advantage. But I've done it twice, and both times it's been different. Though I had the Barlow once, and now the Three Sisters are back, and so I know it pretty well, but I don't know it that great. And my thought process on this is like you're saying, be in the right gear. And I'm going to play it fairly conservative on that first loop to kind of get an idea of what's going on. I don't want to get stuck in my big ring at the wrong time. So I will probably be, playing it safe as I go through that first loop, and then get a better idea of what maybe I can, carry myself over with some speed. That's easy to say, I know, but I really want to be cautious on that first lap and sort of just get a better sense for what we're dealing with.
Well, and stay in your moment, not somebody else's moment. Like, if someone passes you on the hills, good for them. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses on these hills. And please, because you are going to be so amped, because if it's anything like it's always been, there are so many people lining up these hills that you're going to feel teased into maybe pushing it, because you want your quote unquote effort level to match the spectator effort level, because they're going to be just like cheering you wildly like you're going up the Alps in the Tour de France. Stay in your lane, stay in your zone, and don't overdo it. Spin all the way up, don't overdo it. You're going to want to, but don't. Remember what you're doing, remember your game plan, don't deviate, and just be glad people there are cheering you on. You're not there lonely on the bike course, but stick to your plan. And again, it's such a great point, is especially, that's why I love loop courses like this, is because it just gives you a really good idea, obviously, of what to expect next, but what to expect from your body next. And then, how do I feel going up at the first time? All right, let me think about this effort-wise, the rest of the race. How do I need to pace myself? Am I on a good track? Am I in my watt range? Am I pushing a good heart rate? Am I fueling right? Because if it felt like this on the first lap, I really wanted to also feel as close to this feeling as I can on the second lap. Because the next time around, you don't want it to feel, significantly more difficult, because that's just going to mean the rest of the course is going to be that much harder.
Yeah, it's a really good strategy, man. I mean, if you can feel good getting done that first lap, you're going to be in a lot better place than a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. Oh man, if you're able to pass people instead of get passed, you're in an awesome spot.
Mm-hmm. And as we said, I mean, I just was sort of looking at the weather out there just as a trend, like a temperature sort of trend, and because you got to feel like, man, they can't be that wrong, can they? Well, they probably can. We can show up there and
yes, they can.
It could be high 80s versus what it's saying now is like 70. Mm-hmm. And but still, it may be a lot cooler than you're used to. And you may feel a lot better than you really do feel. So just be careful.
The thing. Like, I mean, again, like, you're so right, Lo, is that like it's going to feel like, that's why, again, like, you have to just know your body and be able to make your own decisions, because it's going to be a totally different temperature than most people are used to. I mean, it's going to be cool if it stays the way this is. It's going to be even much cooler than it was for people who've lived there. And so, like, you really got people, especially coming from like the South, where it's been like 90s and 100s with dew points and like, over 70. Well, there, the temps are going to be lower than the dew points we've been having, and so, like, you just got to really listen to your body. And again, like, also when it comes to, making sure you're prepared with how you're dressed, is that, it's going to be a little bit cool too. And it's going to be cool in the beginning, but you got downhills, but man, at least in my experience, I heat up very quickly on a hilly course, because you're putting out a lot of energy and a lot of effort, and you're going slower, so you have less wind to cool you off. So just be mindful of that. But again, if there is a course to be super patient on and be engaged the whole time, it's this one. And again, I think a lot of people lose focus on this course not because it's just like the hardest course in the world. But I think people lose focus because they're having to make decisions so often. And that's something, again, that a lot of people don't do by riding inside all the time. I know for me, I spoke about this maybe last year, was that I know it affected me greatly the year that I did it 3 years ago. Is after Hayden was born, he was in the NICU, and I didn't want to leave the house to go on like really long rides because I didn't want to be that far away from Allie and Hayden. So every single ride I did was on the trainer, 5 hours, 5.5 hours leading up to this race. And while I was happy with my bike split, the last 25 miles, I was toast, because you're just making, and again, like, I think sometimes we forget about the mental and emotional toll that decision making and being engaged can take on you. And so again, just be wary of that. Be prepared for it. Maybe be ready to hit the caffeine if you feel like you need it in T2 or on the run.
Mm-hmm. All right. Whew.
I don't know, dude. I'm like burning calories just yapping today.
You're bringing it, man.
I know, dude. T2 coming in, same thing, man. You come back on the bike path, you're going back up the helix, which is kind of like just icing on the cake because you have to end going up a hill, and you're like, dude, really? Like the last thing I better do coming off this course is do one more hill. So be prepared for that. You'll see people drop their chains on the helix coming back up because they weren't prepared. Spin it up, give your bike off. This is, I think, one of the places where no matter pretty much how many volunteers there are always plenty because people are so spread out now because they're coming off the bike that you should be able to hand your bike off to a volunteer and have them rack it for you. And if you're anything like me, you hand it off and your first thought is, I hope I never ride that again.
Yeah.
Because you're so happy to be off the bike. You're like, take it, put it on eBay, Western Union me the money, and I'm good.
Yeah. When you come out of that like bike path though, and you get to, and you kind of come around, and you can see the helix, you can see downtown and the Capitol and the lake. It's a really, really nice feeling. It
is. It's a great view. It is. It's a really cool feeling as people be there, and you'll be able to see where you're going, which is always a good thing. But yeah.
If you're spectating, and this is a really good place. They have a lot of like balcony type looking down on the situation where they get off the bike. I always go there because whenever I shoot videos, I'll go up on that and I'll just kind of watch people getting off the bike. It's actually kind of entertaining because after riding all those hills,
super entertaining, dude. People falling over, people forget how to, forgot they have like bottles on the back of their saddles. They try to take their leg over the bar and they end up falling over. And then you got 8 out of 10 people looking like a newborn baby deer, just like total legs falling all over the place.
Good, man.
Then they got bike shoes on. It's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff, man. It's like watching a lane dance. Is pretty much what it looks like with people coming off. A little Seinfeld reference for people coming off. But yeah, great place to, as Mike would say, watch that whole situation. I would say take it easy coming in. Again, you're gonna go back into the same rooms where you had T1. You're gonna get changed. You got plenty of time. You're gonna be so stoked to be on a seat that's actually round and comfortable instead of short, square, and hard. That you will want to sit there for a little bit, but do not linger. Get up, and then, as I told the athletes in the email that I sent, the first, I don't know. This is, I mean, I love the finish. This is the best run spectator course I've ever been at in my entire life. The first 2 or 3 miles, you're going to be absolutely amped. There are so many people. You're going to be running. The city is awesome. Everyone's super supportive. You're going to want to come out there flying, and you might. I know I did, and I paid for it. But be cool. Relax. Get settled in. Just be happy you're off your bike, and prepare yourself for obviously a long day. But the first, you won't win it those first 3 miles, but you might lose it, and you're going to come out of there before you kind of get away from the city to less spectators, and just take that time to soak in the energy. Just don't use it yet, because you're going to feel it again on your way back in, finishing up the first loop, especially like right there on State Street. Like Dayton and State Street is just like jam-packed. And it is a absolute blast. The first year I did it, I think I was coming back on the second loop, and I could have sworn, I don't know what street that was, but it's lined with restaurants and bars. It was lined up the entire way, and it was like 4 to 5 people deep. Like I got chills coming back in for the half. I was like, man, this is this is incredible. It really was it was the best spectated run I've ever been on, but it is it's not a flat course. It's rolling. The thing is, though, it's got rolling. It's just like the bike course. You're either making a turn, you're going downhill, or you're going uphill. There is no like long flat sections. You're going up, you're going down, you're going up, you're going down, you're going up, you're going down. And those will take a lot out of you. So you got to be patient. You got to be confident in your effort, and let the elevation be what it's going to be. Another pointer. This got a lot of turns on it too. Please stick with your tangents. Run the shortest line, hug your turns, come out in the middle of the road if you need to make sure you're approaching the next turn, but keep your lines as straight and as short as possible. You can run anywhere from probably even like a 0.1 under what they market to like 0.5 to 0.6 over on courses like this where there's a lot of tangents to run. And if you, again, run the inside loop of the track, don't run the outside loop of the track.
That's a good point. I wanted to point out too, I think it looks like, because they had construction coming out of T2 last year, and they ran you all the way through the bikes. That was sort of the start, and then took you down to the basically where you came up the helix on the bike when you got off the course, and then there was this really like steep, like half block hill on that side, and I saw people just blasting up that thing right out of T2, and it was just a terrible idea. But I think this year it's back to how it was, and there's a little hill there, but it's nothing like that. So if it's back to the original course, it isn't awful, but there is like a little pincher right when you come out at T2, and I just, those are the little things that can really set the table for nothing good. Where's
that big pincher? Is that on University Avenue?
Yeah, that's Observatory Hill.
Observatory Hill, yeah.
Yeah, it's like mile 6, I believe.
Yeah. It's a really nice little pincher.
There's 3 of them. That's really the hill section is mile 6, and then whatever that is on the second loop. I guess about 18, 19.
Yep. It is.
That's where you got to be careful.
Yep. It's some nice little pinchers, and also like as kind of a side note / I still have resentment is. When I was headed out on my first loop of the run, because some of this is going to be on like these run paths and bike paths going back on the backside of University of Wisconsin, and they got dormitories there, and so it's open. And I remember running on there, and these, I think it was maybe it's my second loop, but I remember there was like a couple, it looked like incoming freshman ladies that they blew by me like I was standing still with their iPods in and like their Lulu on, and I remember them passing. I was thinking, oh my god! And I'm like, God, son of it! Like this just just be prepared. There's gonna be other people out there running, and they're not all racing. But it was just like incredibly demoralizing. And they were like, chit chatting, just had some froyo running along with their ponytails, but. There are, again, it's just like the bike course. If you don't pace it well and you try to crush things, there are little bitty bits and pieces of this course that are going to take chunks out of you. And you can either, I think it's not impossible to negative split this course, but even if you can even pace this course, it's a feat in of itself, because it will take little chunks out of you, little bites out of you. It won't take it, not chunks, bites. Just nibbles. The same thing as the bike course. It's just relentless. It's not super hilly if you're coming from a place with like rolling hills. It's very similar, but be patient. I really love to when I've done it is I really try to just like keep my reins really, really, really checked in until I find myself on the bike path or the run path on the first loop, because then it gets quiet. And there's not nearly as many spectators, and you can just kind of like find your own groove. Things get much quieter, which I've always find like if it's easy to hear myself breathe and easier to hear my feet because there's not as much noise, I can really kind of gather myself and kind of recalibrate and understand what I really have to give right now, and then remind myself to be patient. Because there's not so many people out there, not so many spectators, not so many cowbells, people yelling at you. It's just a great time, and you'll make that first loop. You'll come back around. You'll do that what I would consider a worthless loop around the football field, and then you will.
I've come to agree with that, man. I keep thinking about it. It's like, oh.
You're like, oh, it's exciting. And you're like, oh, dude, I got to go down a little bitty ramp, then I go over this, and like at that point, any kind of like speed bump, you're like, really, dude? Like, I don't need like any help tripping over anything right now. But then you make your way back to, I think, one of the toughest turnaround spots is right there by the Capitol to start your loop, your second loop. The only kind of godsend right there is that there's again so many people there. Now all, and it's such a weird thought that you think this is a normal person, but now you think, I've just got a half marathon left to give, and you've already done this whole long day. But I promise you, like if you can get to that point and think, I still feel okay. Now I could just got to make this happen. Now is when you start clicking things off mile by mile. I just got to make another mile. I just got to run another mile. I just got to run another mile. If you can run, the people who can run the back half are going to pass hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. It is the best feeling in the world to be able to run that back half. Even if you find yourself having to like walk one of the pinchers just to kind of gather your breath and allow you to run the rest of the way, no issue there. But just run it. And if you can run back, once you get to mile, I don't know, like 25 on the way back in, then you can start to you can hear the roars from downtown at like mile 24 even, because you're like winding your way back through the city. And then once you hit obviously State Street and then loop it back around, it's up there. It is an incredible finish right there by the Capitol. The little street they've got going on, it's kind of got a Louisville finish vibe without being technically, like it's considered halfway inside, halfway outside. Restaurants, bars, everything, you name it, it's right there on the side, place where people can like sit outside and eat and hang out and yell at you. It is a great venue and an absolutely wonderful finish line.
Yeah, it is. And back to the turnaround on that second loop, it is one of the dastardly tricks at Ironman. It's one of the they dip you way down into the finishing chute, and then you got to go back out. Mm-hmm. I always love that, actually. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
it's like people are usually finishing ahead of me, and they're finishing, and I have to turn around, and that's like one of those, like, oh, really?
Yeah, but the thing is that you can hear people's names being called, but you can also get a taste of what it's going to feel like when you're done.
Yeah,
and I think that's also a good energy booster. While in the moment it's kind of like a slap in the face or a karate chop to the trachea. It kind of gives you an amp. You're like, I got this. Yep. I got this. Like it is that first feeling of like, I got this. I'm going to finish, and I'm going to have this finish line experience when it's over. And I think that feeling alone obviously can carry you through some miles, but if you don't have the legs to allow it, it's going to carry you to run faster. It's not going to carry you to run instead of walk. And that's the decision you have to make on the first half of the loop, and then most importantly, the first 80 miles of the bike. Are the decisions I'm making right now going to allow me to run my best back half marathon? And that's basically what every decision you should make, the question you should ask beforehand.
Yeah, man, you want me to make that decision that early?
Yes. That early and all the time.
Yeah. It's like that's the toughest thing in this race, I think.
It is. I was telling this to somebody the other day. I think running an open marathon is the hardest endurance event to pace. And so imagine trying to prepare yourself to run a really, really good marathon at the end of swimming 2.4 and biking 112. It's a whole different kind of hard. And so when you think about that and how pacing it is, and again, even just 30 seconds a mile difference over, and that's it, which is not a lot, over 26 miles is 13 minutes. I mean, it's like, think about the chunks you can give up. If it's a minute or a minute and a half, now you're giving up 30 minutes. 30 minutes. It's such a long time. And you think it's not going to be a big deal on the bike, and you think you're making all these good decisions and make you go faster. And then you realize that somebody who's coming off the bike 30 something minutes behind you, if you bonk and start to walk and you slow from a 9 to a 12, they're going to pass you like you're standing still. 30 minutes behind you. Think about it. Make the best decisions, be smart, and again, have fun. It's such a great place. Have fun, be mentally prepared, be ready to have a good day, and be ready to think your way. And we will be there. Mike will be there on the course racing, having a good time. I'll be out there with some other athletes. They'll be racing, but we have a bunch of other of our team. We'll be there to spectate. We'll be there we'll be cheering you on. And if you need anything from me while I'm there, please reach out. I'm happy to help. And enjoy yourself. Soak it in. It's a great place.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, me too.
It is what you said, I think it was a couple of podcasts ago, about it's counterintuitive to think that slowing down will make me finish faster. I really like that line.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, and yeah, enjoy Madison. It looks to it's nothing like Wisconsin in the fall, at least to me, because I grew up there, but I really do love it. I mean, what a perfect time in the year.
Yep.
For the race, and they'll have a huge farmers market on Saturday, so go check that out a little bit. If you're spectating, go shop like mad. But State Street there, you get on the run course, you get 2 really nice tastes of State Street, and both of them are filled with good energy. You get to do that 4 times throughout the marathon, and to me that's sort of the highlight, is the State Street sections.
Yep. No, I would agree with you. It's a neat place.
So, again, the first time I ever did this course, a buddy of mine said, and I hope it's the same. I mean, it's been 7 years since of course we did. It was good when we did it in 16. He said, be prepared to be shocked by the bike course support. And that's what really got me. It's like, I feel like it's just sprinkled out throughout the whole course. I mean,
it is. It's odd, because sometimes I'm like, how did you even get here?
I know, that's the thing.
I'm like, how did you physically get to this place in the bike course to cheer me on? Because I don't see how it's possible.
Yeah.
But no, it's the best supported. It's the most spectator friendly bike course. I wouldn't say friendly. I would say there's an incredible spectator effort.
That's a really good way to put it, man.
That's it. That's really what it is. It's an incredible
how did you get here?
effort. It is. I'm like, where is your car, and how did you go through like the forest to get here, or did you climb through like all the cow fields or ride a horse here?
I know, man. I feel like there's planning out there, because one of the things I noticed was, like, there's a lot of hills, and I feel like on almost every one of them there was somebody there with, like, speakers on their car or something, some kind of weird little thing like that.
Cowbells or something to move you forward. Like that. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, it's a great place. We hope you all have a good time. Hopefully you've taken something out of this podcast that you can apply to yourself. Your lead up into the race, and then obviously allowing yourself to have your best race possible. And we love to hear feedback afterwards. Yep. All right. Well, we'll be around. All right, man. I'll check one more podcast. And then we'll be in Madison. That's right. All right, buddy. It's been a great time. All right. Check you later.